Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rhonda Fair from Feed from His Basket. And what basket am I talking about? It's called the Basket of Love, from above. And a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are across the universe. How is your day going? Or maybe your morning's just starting, or maybe you're still in bed. Yeah. It's sunny here in London, Ontario, Canada. People out there for their exercise, just getting their core in. I'm talking about our core and our core values in our life. Yeah. It looks like it's going to be, in the 20s today. So enjoy it while you can. I might hit Gibbons Park or wherever. It is nice out there. I went for a walk last night and there was this family there, and they had, it's different now than we did when we were younger, but they had those remote trucks. So I was watching them with it, and this truck was going so fast that it hit the tree. So I thought, uh-oh, that's it. And I'm like, oh no, that's it. And what happened was, I thought for sure it was going to smash. Instead, what it did was it hit the tree and went up the tree. Yeah. And then I find out there's gas-powered ones. I mean, it's not like when my kids were young. I remember my daughter and I, Kat, we go out there and race her trucks all the time. So, the cars and trucks. It's a lot of fun. But like I was told by a friend down the river, he says, oh, now they have the gas-powered ones. I go, what? Yeah, but I believe it. In all purpose and clarity and confidence and how our posture is today and to adjust into this room. So here I am. So I am Rhonda Fair. And here today, as we see, as the sun is shining, it's bright, it's beautiful, and it's warm, and it is 10:21 a.m. here. But what happens when there's a sudden change? You ever have that? You're out there and there's a sudden extreme change in weather where you go in there and the shifts in temperature all of a sudden just like that. It was really hot, really cold, and it's warm. It just keeps changing up. You know, and you want to grab a jacket and the next time it's too hot and the moisture changes. That's what happens, when there's extreme change in weather. And when it shifts like this and the raindrops, they're coming down so rapidly, they could be cold, like I said, drops, so they change to warm drops. Yeah. Or vice versa. Yeah, vice versa. So there's a rapid change. What happens is it is linked to, it's amplified in the atmosphere. It's the waves in the atmosphere. Yeah. So it's a climate change what challenges us humans. Yeah. So the earth is constantly always moving. So we notice how tired we are more at night, or lethargic we are at night if we've been up all day. So you're more vulnerable at night, right, than you are when you're fresh and revived in the morning. So this, as if it does shift and change like that, yeah. So the earth is constantly moving, and it's never going to stop. It's going to keep going, right? So people can change like this. People can change like this. Their moods can shift just like that. Hot and warm and cold and moody and stuff that we need to be aware of and pay attention to. So as much as I'm coming clear as the weather can change like that, so can human beings. And that's what you need to observe. Yeah. And what does God do about all this, honestly? I think about that last night. I was sitting here and I went, okay, I'll do what I can do and God do what he does, because I definitely can't do what he can do. So that's what I did. So I took time with my castor oil and what I needed to rub on my body and put some cloves in it and and just to kind of comfort my body. And that's what I do. It reduces inflammation. I take some cayenne pepper, have some ginger in hot water, and change my habits of how I eat. Actually, the more I change the way I eat, the less I feel hungry. Yeah. So it depends what you're feeding your body. So that's also, as the earth is constantly changing, people can change like this too. And what happens is when there's a movement of this, and there's, it's like, how do you manage this toxicity? I know when we manage in the weather, we'll grab a coat, we'll have a rain jacket, or we'll have something, a cooler shirt to throw on. But what do you do about when the people shift like this? What can we do ourselves? Well, it's best that when there's rapid change and it's linked to all this, and in human beings, we need to observe and be aware of what's going on. So people can change like this, as I said, and you want to pull yourself out of a bad situation, of a bad mood climate from this storm. So there's mood disorders, and there's psychopaths, emotionally unstable. There's pensive people, master manipulators. And so what we need for ourselves is we want to come out and we want to get out of the storm. So we need time and space and freedom. And because if we don't, these people, such even as the weather, they can suck you dry, and they will use your weaknesses, your needs, your desires, and your insecurities in your life. So you want to be aware of that. Oh, what a life changer, eh? It sure is. So you want clarity, you want to be confident on what you know and what you recognize, and the purpose of this, of how to recognize these storms and what we can do about it ourselves to be clear of it. Or maybe you are that storm. Maybe you, I don't want you to set judgment on yourself or anything like that, or on myself. It's just to recognize patterns. So there could be sudden extreme shifts in temperature, as I talked about in this moisture. So we want to, when we come to the table, we want to adjust ourselves, come with confidence, sitting straight. So we want, because the wickedness loves to fail to meet what our needs are, but only what their needs are. You might recognize, it's very tiresome. And they have no accountability. And some of them do it so smoothly. Okay, they do it so smoothly that others won't notice it, but you will, because you've studied it, you've learned it, you've watched it. Here's one for you. An example. You're feeding your child, or you're supporting someone, and they're having a great time with you, they're enjoying it, happy. But the narcissist, or the malignant narcissist, or the psychopath, they see this. What? That can't happen with you. That's not happening with me. They don't care who it is. So you can't get the attention. I have to have the attention. And some of them are so smooth, they'll walk in and go, well, I'll finish it up. That needs to be done right now. And you recognize these patterns, and you will recognize it at work. You will recognize it in your church. You will recognize it in your home. You will recognize it on your everyday walk. Does it mean you not have a good time today? No, it does not. It just gives you an eye-opener, who you're around and what you can observe. Yeah, so again, just little things like that are very huge, because you're recognizing this pattern. You're recognizing a group of people doing this. Okay? They're called setups. Right? They're patterns, and believe the actions. Believe the actions. Okay? Do not say, well, that didn't happen. Yeah. Believe the actions. It happened, and it's unfortunate, because in a workplace, they shouldn't have people there like that. So that's where we have to observe them. Because they don't believe in people are equal. They believe that they have to put you down to put themselves up here. Okay? So they live in a turmoil of bad storms. It's all about them. So if there is unequalness, even in partnerships, so you have a partner, and the partner sees you growing, or you see them growing, but you want to make sure it's equal. Okay, it's 100-100. So your relationship should be 100-100. Okay, and women, you want a good leader that knows their stuff, not in pride, but knows their stuff to keep you, help you, and not keep you in a bad way, to help guide you on that narrow path. And the narrow path is just, just being sensitive to your needs, and gentle and warm and not troublesome, and loving and sexual and beautiful and tasteful, and enjoy each other. That's equal. But when it's unequal, it's a good time to observe this. It's a good time to go, okay, I better do another check here. What's going on in a relationship or at a workplace or wherever you may be. Okay. So they will look at a lot of petty stuff. They're jealous of you. They see, it does not matter what it is. If they see any kind of successfulness at something that you have, or in your beauty, or in your voice, or in your teachings, or in your learning, or your work, or how you are around children, or around adults, they see accomplishments. It was interesting. I was going through a book not long ago of accomplishments that, God has taken me through. And I got a big binder with a whole bunch of different things I'm going through it. Wow. Through the journey. But people, like I was talking about, that are toxic, they don't see it as that, as you just accomplish something. So if your child accomplishes something, you would be very excited for them, very happy for them. Like, you would want to lift them up. You want to celebrate. You might want to go out for dinner, but not a toxic parent. A toxic parent wouldn't want that. They'd want to oppress the person. They would not look at it as their child. They look at it as oppressing the person. Because, they would look at it as, you just did better than me. And because they don't have no self-worth, they have no self-love. They do not love themselves. I think about this. I remember it's been a while now since I've received Jesus as my Savior. And I knew that with His love from above, and loving myself and loving others, you would recognize that you love yourself. And it's a confidence. And you might have had confidence before, but it's a different kind of confidence, where it's humble. So you want to stay away from a toxic. So you can do a self-check or do a self-reflection, or you can just look at your relationships, right? Your relationships. Say, hey, are we equal? Or am I being treated and dragged along? Am I being put down? Are they evaluating me? Are they tiresome? They have no accountability. So even though in our walk every day, we say, oh yeah, well, we know we do that, and you don't. Okay, we say we know, but we're not doing it, right? So again, if we fail to meet their needs, it doesn't matter about your needs. If your partners or a workplace is showing no accountability for their actions, and they are very tiresome, and the more you study it and the more you watch and observe this, you will recognize more and more, and you see a lot of darkness. It's not so nice, but it's best just to kind of step back, have a look. So again, myself, when I listen to people speak and they talk about evolution and the world being millions of years or hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years ago, when I know I can take this from the flood, from Noah, when you see that beautiful rainbow outside and it's beautiful and colorful, I can't go back any more than the world 6,000 years. But when people only believe you're evolved, they will come to a conclusion of that. But you always have to back it up. So if you can't back it up, you haven't got the evidence. And in human beings, we need to see to believe, to believe to see to believe. So, just to understand that we are equal. So for me to have a partner, I need him to be a leader. Okay, so that's me. So I need him to be a leader. So I'm doing my studies and I'm going, wow. So I need the person not just to know his stuff, but to take it in his walk to help guide and lead me on that direction. Okay? So he's going to be equal with me. He's going to walk with me. He's not going to push me behind. He's going to help. He's going to lift me up. Right? So you want to think about that, because the only time you don't want to confuse this is God spits out lukewarm. So toxic people are hot or cold. And the only time this is healthy to be hot or cold is biblically, because you either believe or you don't believe. But when you're lukewarm and say you believe and you're doing all the toxic things, obviously you are lukewarm and God will spit you out. So if you, it's toxic people will whittle away, as Joe Navarro talks about this a lot, at your confidence. They don't want to see you succeed. I just saw someone I knew. I talked about him yesterday, and he's doing a big movie. And so I'm very excited about that. But are you? That's what I'm saying. So if someone is achieving something in their life, you should be happy about that. If someone can sing beautifully, you should be happy about that. Don't you go to a concert and you love to listen to it? Well, toxic people don't like that. They like to go there just to condemn, put down. So they whittle away at people's confidence. They have vocal contempt. It's nothing nice to say. And you will watch it. Another example is they will not allow you in their little group of narcissism, malignant ways to harm others. So they will buy each other little presents in the group, but they'll want to push you away. It's because they're not well. And even if it's setups, it still shows and examples they're not well. So this happened in the Bible also, because God, he frustrates people like that. It's in Genesis 5, 15 and 19, and Genesis 7. What happened is, not long, God had frustrated the attempt of mankind at Babel. And he confounded their language, so he expressed anger and annoyance upon them. He confused them and he surprised them. And to not be able to understand each other, right? So what happened was that the Canaanites, they descended from Ham's youngest son. Yeah, from his youngest son, and in 7 principal nations. And this is where it brought me back to Bible study a long time ago. I go, how do you know all this? It's called the Person Study. So I looked at it and went, oh, 7 principles. Okay, 7 principal nations, and I started going through the words. I go, oh, I remember these words. You know, and I'm going, they're weird words, but they were places. So of whom they are, the 7 principal nations were the Amorites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Gerishites, the Perizzites, the Hivites. And the principle of these nations, of all these different crazy words that I'm going, huh? Yeah. What they did was they took possession over Canaan, and they formed themselves in almost as many kingdoms as they could, and cities. So notwithstanding the Melchizedek, which he was one of their kings, could do to reform them. There was, he couldn't do it. So, then quickly became, they were just monsters of wickedness. They were idolization. They were mixing different belief systems together and culture. They were just horrible. And God was just thought, that's it. I'm going to frustrate you all. So this brought me back to a study a long time ago. In actually 2019. So what he did, he's seen these monsters of wickedness, and God punished them with terrible ravage. And, he just was disgusted in them. And in reduction by Chedorlaomer. Yeah, they're really great words to work with. Yeah, king of Elam. So about 16 years after this, right, later, their kingdoms of Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah, and what happened was Zobium. It's a funny word. Where for their unnatural lewdness were consumed with brimstone and fire, and that from heaven. So brimstone and fire come down, and the country turned into a deadly poisonous lake. Yeah. And with this, into which the Jordan River since runs without visible outlets. So everything is in chronological harmony of scripture of history. So when I did a peek at some people I haven't seen in a while, and oh wow, congratulations. I was very excited. So I had to match up, and I'm thinking, oh, well, what happened here I just read to you, and what's going on with toxic people is because the heart's not changed. And when you choose to live your own way and allow to have a debased mind, God gives you, well, that's what he does. He gives you a debased mind. Fine, you want to live that way? You go ahead, chase your tail, run in circles. I don't care. The thing is, you don't want to come on here and force anybody into any of this. But this is a true story, and I can back it up. Now, with this, it's in our history, and to believe in history, you got to believe in the predictions, and to believe in predictions, you got to believe in the history in life. All right, we talk about our history all the time. Well, this is our history that I'm talking about right now. So I went and backed it up, because this happened in 2107 AM 2107. So it was the Hebrew, and the times back then, it was the year of the world. And what happened was it backed up, so I had to go back and check. So just before that, God constituted Abram and his seed with Isaac, by Isaac. So in his peculiar people appoint circumcision as a seal of the covenant. So it changes Abram's and Sarai's names to soon after the two angels had a visit. And Abram and Sarai's names. So Abram and Sarah, and renew the promise of Isaac's birth. Abraham intercedes for this, the preservation of Sodom. And the two angels warned Lot, and his family removed Sodom and Gomorrah, as I just spoke about. And Admah and Zobium are destroyed by the fire and brimstone. Lot's wife is turned into a pillar of salt. The Dead Sea is formed out of this country. Yeah. So there you got the Dead Sea. That's how we got the Dead Sea. And then not long after, Lot made drunk by his two daughters and commits incest with them. And then the Moabites and the Ammonites, so every time I hear all those words, it brings back memories, proceeded. And this is in Genesis 17 and Genesis 18. You just go in and just read a bit about that. You can go in your study. So again, what Joe Navarro was talking about, he's a former FBI, he's a behavior analyst, and he does a lot of TED speaking and whatnot, and he speaks about our behaviors and our body language and how we present ourselves. So this did happen, so I had to back it up at the time, and it's exactly right on. So this was also 1897 before Christ. Okay. And then as Sarah bears Isaac 3 or 4 years after Ishmael mocks him, and him and Hagar are consequently expelled from the family. So it goes to show, back then, they boiled children if they just weren't right for them. They cooked them, they did incest. And see, as you recognize patterns of what I was talking about, of people's behaviors and their insanity and not equal. So God created all man equal, and he created them beautifully, wonderfully made. So if you take a look at this, and I remember in church, I hear all this gossip. Well, she doesn't think much of herself, does she? And you think, because they're very inferior about themselves, I think, well, I'll be slow to speak, quick to listen, and do not judge the person, but judge what's the bad stuff inside. Because the more and more and more you hear the word, the more the inside of the bad goes out. And God does it gently, and he starts removing the bad, and when he changes your heart each time. So your heart starts to mold his way. And that's where the humbleness comes in, from the truth, from the word. And it takes time. He doesn't do it all at once. That'd be too much for us. So this brought me to a study I had with someone, as I talked about yesterday. And I think, okay, now I know how. I couldn't figure out how you knew all this. Saying that you didn't, and humbleness, you didn't know more than I did, and would talk like that. And I go, well, that was just a story laid on me because I knew I didn't know this. So this happens if someone here is struggling with a relationship or in a workplace, and you recognize these patterns, stand back. And I want you to know it's not about you being the bad person. It's the person's heart hasn't been changed. Okay? The person's heart hasn't been changed. They show pride. They show consistency of neglecting. They show a lot of fear, or you might see paranoia. Paranoia I have seen where people put big locks all over their houses. Oh my gosh, why are people coming to our door? Well, people do come to our door and visit. But oh my gosh, and stuff like that. When you start recognizing stuff like that, there's something going on. Okay? So just things like that. No, you do need blocks to protect yourself, We never used to do that when we were younger. I never did. I used to leave my patio door open, never locked my door. I used to sleep outside on the patio. Didn't bother me as a young teenager. But now, in my own place, while I was working, if it was hot and I didn't have my air conditioner, I opened it all up and just put something on the floor, and that's where I slept. So, but now it's different. It's because more and more people, eyes are shut. People have not been there to help each other. Everything is too rushed. Nobody wants a good leader in their relationship anymore. The women want to be leaders and push the men down, and the men only want to be and push the women down, and there's no equal, and there's no accountability, and they ignore their children, and they stick them in everything. And see how fast I'm speaking? That's McDonaldization. So we go down the river. Look at the sunset. Look at the color behind me. Look at the animals. Look at the plants. Look at the flowers. Smell the air. Is it healthy, unhealthy? That's when you'll start recognize patterns. Am I allergic to that weed? Because you might get snuffed up. God gave us a stuffed up nose if we're allergic to something out there. Our throat. All this stuff, thank God that he gave us that sign so we know we can take care of it. If someone is not helping you and supporting you in meeting those needs, there's something wrong. It's very toxic. Okay? If someone has made you a person, decide to make you a person in the Bible, and role-played you, it's very evil. Okay? We're human beings, and we need to be protected and loved and nurtured and cared for. Okay? You need to be there. Not overvaluate yourself or keep... It's good. It's good for compliments. Like I said, you accomplish something, you applaud that person. You're excited for them. Right? If an officer does right, yes, you applaud because they put that work into it. Or a mother or a father or your husband or wife or children. But in all accountability, if it is healthy, it's from God. Anything unhealthy, unsuccessful in the jealousy part, or lukewarm that way in the belief system, or hot and cold, or just plain warm, the temperatures keep changing and there's no accountability, it's time to step back. Because that person, if you're in that situation or workplace, because they don't think much of themselves, they have no love within, and they're probably searching for some kind of love that they don't know where to get it from. Well, God above gives us the love to love ourselves and love others, and will teach you, and He will teach you and not confuse you, because He is of sound mind. He will not shock you, but give you a shock treatment of love. Okay? Because if, like He says, I gave you a will. I gave you a will, and it's your choice to choose to observe, to go this path or go the opposite. I gave you a choice. I gave women and men a penis and a vagina to or be orgasmically make love and have children and feel good about each other, because the reason why He gave that feel good was so you will go back and get more of that feel good to each other. It's an attraction, right? Or why would He make it feel so good? Stuff like that. It's a language that God gives us, right? So, we're not just parking lots where they can zoom in there with their vehicle and be there anytime they want. And I've had many people try to do that with me. And then many will say they did and they didn't. It's because their pride is in the way. They're embarrassed or shamed. But they don't need to be. They don't need to be. The right time, the right person, and who's going to be with you will be with you. Okay? Never force someone in your life. Allow it to happen. But that's what happens when Joseph in the Bible, when his family sold him out and made them out to be whores and everything else, and tried to kill him and everything, because it was gossip and lies. Right? There were jealousy, pride, and that's what people do. You see, just because you've done something wrong and you don't continue it, you should be happy about it, right? You should be happy about it. So again, you just can't use God for every little thing and just say, well, I know I did wrong, so I'll just use Him to forgive. No. God knows our hearts, and He knows what we're up to. So He knows our plans ahead before we even know our plans, okay? He watches. Now that we're getting up in life, hey, it's okay. Enjoy it while you can, and know whose parking lot you're parked in. Because you don't know what disease you're going to get. Or there's so many different kinds. I mean, there's diseases out there that they don't even know themselves. And the world has oppressed and put you in a cage. You're in a jail, and you have to decide who's got the key, the world or you with God. So you can still have that freedom by living right, understand the choices that we can make. So if you're stuck in that situation, just step back. To have somebody lead you doesn't mean he's oppressing you. It doesn't mean he's pushing you around. Does not mean, that's where people get defensive. Well, I am going to have a leader in my family because, he'll just... Some of us women are disgusting that way. Because we might have been harmed in the past. Well, I ain't going to allow that to happen to me. But we have these attitudes. But once you find out the truth, you can observe for that not to happen to you again. You can recognize these patterns. So you can be humble. So you can submit to each other with God. So you can love each other and not have to be an unequal partnership and have sudden extreme shifts of weather in your life and have raindrops that come down so hard that are so cold and warm and drops and changing climate change. because you do matter. And to love yourself, I've had every religion and every idiot come to me and try to have sex or pull it out or do whatever. And I just look at them, are you an idiot? But the thing is, I knew there was a camera in the bush, so my behavior was changed. So because I knew that, I would deal with it differently. And that's where Joe Navarro talks about, right? So we have the idiosyncratic, the pacifying behaviors, and then we have the kind that's the reserve when we're under pressure, and the micro expressions are rare, and that's, and then there's the baselines where are very rare behaviors where you're not being watched and you're comfortable. So when I knew that was there at the river, and it would come consciously to me when these people would do it, my behaviors were different. So I knew it was a setup. Now, get out of here, you idiot. Want me to throw you in the river? I'd like to choke you with it or whatever, or drag you to the police. Because I already knew it was being watched. But what would I do if it wasn't? Right? And someone did that. And I wouldn't be that polite. Okay. I wouldn't be that polite. Or I wouldn't listen. I would be aware of my surroundings, but I would not acknowledge the person. So again, we always change how we behave when we're being watched and when we're not being watched. So a person, you're at work and a person's doing something deliberately that is wrong, and they don't think they're being watched. And sometimes they'll say, oh, we're being watched. Just throw it out there. I don't really know if we're really being watched. I'll say, oh yeah, what? I didn't know. Stuff like that. I'll pull the trigger. Just as it's just sometimes interesting. So it's like cancer that thrives on an acid environment when people do wrong. So, it is true that our brain has full of fat. And I'm not going to argue with someone when I've done my studies. And we can have a healthy fat and an unhealthy fat. Same with the storms and same with relationships. And the brain is the fattest part on the body. And it's 80 and brain cells is 70. So it's we don't want to use certain things, drugs, because it removes that fat off the brain. That's why people get dementia or Alzheimer's. So as Barbara O'Neill would say, may your breakfast be the king meal, your lunch be the queen meal, and your supper be the pauper meal. We want to go with low carbohydrates and high in fiber, and gathering protein, have healthy fats, and have as much water as you can, 8 to 10 glasses of water, and whole salts as Celtic salts or Himalayan salts. I throw some on my tongue now because if I was getting a pain in my chest, now I know that the electrolytes and we need vitamin D. Just once in a while, get it. I don't know. You get it checked, but I knew once I gave myself a blast of that, things started to change in my body. So again, you don't want to be in an idiosyncratic. Put someone in that way to make them use pacifiers all the time. That is oppression. Us women will go like this. I did mine for 2 reasons: to touch, because I have castor oil, it's soft, or because I don't want anybody to touch me unless I choose to. So we don't suck our thumb like this that babies and children do, so we do it in different ways. Some people, I've watched them, they rub their pant legs and with their fingers, or it's a pacifier, or they only like the feel of certain clothes that they have to. And that is normal. That is normal. You don't have anything wrong with you. That is called a pacifier. So if somebody in psychology or a psychiatrist is telling you that's not normal, that you have an illness or whatever, no, that is your pacifier. So if you like rubbing something soft under your feet, that's your pacifier. If you're rubbing your leg or feeling the grains, that's a pacifier. If you're touching your hair, that's a pacifier. You know, I won't go into different other things, but there is different ways of pacifying yourself, right? Some men like to be touched a certain way because it's a pacifier. Some women like to be touched away because it's a pacifier. It does not mean you're unwell. You know, you just because you like certain textures does not mean you have a problem, a mental problem. It's because you like those textures. Look at something healthy about it. Or how you like your food, or what touches your tongue and what touches your lips. And what you love about a person or on your daily walk today. So memories and healthiness and what to watch out for and what God does with people who choose to be with a debased mind does not, or people that don't love themselves, is because they haven't received the love yet. Not the true love. And that's why people use all these different horrible behaviors upon you. So again, be aware of that. Have your eyes wide open and to know a self-love. Self-love, I remember sitting there studying and it just feels so good. Not because you're bragging about yourself or you're one of those narcissists. It's because it's a good feeling inside. And remember, you can't fix what you did not break. And believe in people's actions, okay? No matter what, believe in the actions. Will you take really good care of yourself and have a great day today? God bless you.